The hallway was silent, too silent. For years, Emily had grown used to the whispers that followed her wherever she went. "There's the weird girl. She's so quiet it's creepy." But that day, as she walked past the rows of lockers, there was no whispering, just the sound of her own footsteps. It was the kind of silence that felt like a storm was about to heat up, and Emily, as always, was standing directly in its path. Emily was a quiet girl by nature, not by choice. Life had taught her that sometimes speaking too much gave people more reasons to mock you. She had transferred to Ridgewood High just a year ago, carrying the scars of the last school she had attended. At first, she thought the students here might be different, but the bullies, they were everywhere. It was as if cruelty traveled from school to school, wearing different faces but carrying the same poison. Her main tormentors were 3 kids from her grade: Jessica, the queen bee with a cruel smile, her sidekick Heather, and Ryan, who thought being mean was the fastest way to look cool. They mocked Emily for her silence, for the way she dressed, and even for the notebook she carried everywhere. What they didn't know was that the notebook was Emily's life, filled with drawings, stories, and a world where she was free. But that day, everything changed. It began when Jessica decided she wanted to see what Emily hid in that notebook. Emily had just finished sketching a wolf with its sharp eyes staring back at her like a reflection of her own strength when the 3 of them cornered her near the lockers. "Hey, freak," Jessica sneered, stepping in front of her. "What's so special about that book? Afraid we'll find out your little secrets?" Emily clutched her notebook tighter. "Leave me alone," she whispered. Heather laughed. "Oh, she talks. I thought you were mute." Before Emily could step away, Ryan lunged forward and grabbed her wrist. "Let's see what's in there." Something inside Emily snapped, and not just emotionally, but something deeper. She had spent too many nights crying alone, too many days pretending not to care when people shoved her books to the ground or tripped her in the hallway. She had bottled everything up, and now, with Ryan's hand on her wrist, that bottle shattered. In one fluid motion faster than anyone could comprehend, Emily twisted her arm and grabbed Ryan's wrist instead. The movement was instinctive, like muscle memory. Ryan yelped as pain shot up his arm, and before he could react, Emily bent his wrist back with the precision that made him scream. The hallway froze. "Let me go," Emily said, her voice low but unshakable. Ryan tried to pull free, but Emily had trained for years in secret. What the bullies didn't know was that Emily's father, a retired martial artist, had taught her self-defense ever since she was young. He'd always said, "Quiet doesn't mean you're weak. Quiet means you're focused, and when you fight back, you do it with everything you've got." Emily released Ryan, and he stumbled back, clutching his wrist. Jessica's confident smirk faltered, but Heather stepped forward anyway, reaching for Emily's notebook. "Bad idea." Emily sidestepped and caught Heather's wrist just as she had Ryan's. One twist and Heather was on her knees, crying out. The shock in Jessica's eyes was almost satisfying. "You want it?" Emily asked, her voice shaking, and not with fear, but with power. "Come take it." Jessica didn't move. For once, the girl who ruled the hallway was speechless. Emily finally picked up her notebook, straightened her shoulders, and walked past them. Every pair of eyes in the hallway followed her. For the first time, Emily wasn't invisible. She wasn't the quiet girl. She was the girl who fought back. But the battle didn't end there. Later that day, Emily was called to the principal's office. Jessica's parents had already complained, twisting the story to make Emily sound like the aggressor. For a moment, Emily feared she would be punished. Then something happened she never expected. A group of students, people who had once just watched the bullying, stood up for her. They told the truth. They said they'd seen everything, that Emily had only defended herself. For the first time, Emily realized something: when you stand up for yourself, others start to find their own courage too. The next few weeks were different. Jessica and her gang kept their distance, But it wasn't just fear, it was respect. Emily found herself making new friends, people who admired her strength, not because she was loud, but because she had proven that silence was not weakness. One afternoon, a younger girl shyly approached her in the library. "They used to pick on me too," she said softly. "You broken bar, you made me feel like I can stand up for myself too." Emily smiled. "You can, you're stronger than you think."